Comparing functions less than 13 notes. The review. The review is a separate assignment. Find it in Schoology, upload it to Notability, complete it there, and then submit it back to Schoology. I do want to remind you that we talked about graphing on the number line. If it's x is greater than 3, we use an open circle because x is greater than 3, not equal to 3, but greater than 3. So in other words, 3 is not included in the solution. So open circles means it's not included. But if it was x is greater than or equal to 3, we used a closed circle. So we could show that the 3 was included in the solution. So when you look at problem 3, open circle, remember, means not included, where closed circle means it is. So be very careful when answering that question. For number 5, it says find the slope of the given points -8, 7, and 4, -2. This would be x1, y1, x2, y2. And the only reason I called the first point 1 is because it was the first point. We're going to use this formula, slope equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. You're going to do the problem yourself, but I just want to remind you that this is -2, that's y2, that's going to go in for y2. Here is y1, that will replace y1. And yes, you'll have the minus sign in between. We have x2, that will replace x2 here. And -8 will replace the x1. Please be careful with the signs. If you have any questions on the review, please do not hesitate to ask. For 1 and 2, for 1 through 4, you just need to put function or not a function. All right, this lesson is on comparing functions. Pause your video and write down your definition for rate of change. All right, rate of change is nothing new. We talked about rate of change back when we did the lesson on proportional relationships. We talked about how rate of change, unit rate, and the slope were all the same thing. So if you have a graph, if you find the slope, you're finding the rate of change. If you remember correctly, we used the abbreviation RofC for rate of change. So again, rate of change is the rate that describes how one quantity changes in relation to another quantity. So if you look at this graph, we're going to talk about how when time changes, the distance changes, and so forth. The slope of a line is a rate of change. The slope of a line is a rate of change. Fill in your blank. So using the formula that you used in number 5, we're going to find the slope of this example. So we're going to find the rate of change, which is the slope of this example. So I'm going to pick 2 points. I'm going to pick this point here and this point here. So this would be 1 and 3, excuse me, and 20, so it goes up by 20, 20, 40, 60, 80. So this point would be 140, and this point would be 280. So we will call this x1, y1, and then x2, y2. We're going to put it in our formula to find our slope. So y2 is 80, y1 is 40, so 80 minus 40. x2 is 2 minus x1, which is 1. If I simplify this, 80 minus 40 is 40. 2 minus 1 is 1. So it would be 40 over 1, which is just 40. That is one way to find the slope. Use 2 points. Use your formula, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. But we learned another way to find the slope. And that's using rise over run. So this would be my rise, and this would be my run. Now be careful here. The rise is not 2. A lot of times students want to go 1, 2, and tell me that the rise is 2, but that would be wrong. The rise is going from 40 to 80. So from 40 to 80, that means it's rising 40. And the run goes from 1 to 2, which would just be 1. So the rate of change is the same as rise over run. My rise is 40. My run is 1. Notice how we got the same thing as what we got up above. So for both of them, the final answer, or the rate of change, would be 40 miles per hour. 40 miles per hour. We're going to compare functions in this lesson. Sometimes you'll be asked to compare the rate of change. Sometimes you're going to be asked to compare the y-intercept. None of those things are new to you. We've talked about rate of change. We've talked about the y-intercept. The only thing that might be new is now you're going to be asked to compare the x-intercepts, and we will get to that later in the lesson. But again, you'll be asked to compare rate of changes. You'll be asked to compare y-intercepts. Sometimes you'll be given a graph. Sometimes you'll be given an equation. Sometimes you'll be given a chart. And again, we have done stuff like this. We have found the rate of change from a graph. We found the rate of change from a chart. And we found the rate of change from an equation before. So this is not new information. This is stuff that we have done before. So hopefully this will be an easy lesson for you. If you have any questions on rate of change, please let me know.